You were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah, weird.
To a MAGA conservative movie. We're just trying to represent the values that Snow White is based in, the timeless values that we all loved growing up, that are sad.
Generations have cherished Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as a timeless tale of innocence, bravery, and love. It's a story that has transcended cultures and eras, capturing the hearts of children and adults alike since Disney's animated masterpiece debuted in 1937. When Disney announced a live-action remake of the beloved classic, fans were initially thrilled. But that excitement quickly soured as controversial creative decisions surfaced, sparking debates about authenticity, modernization, and respect for the original work. The backlash created a surprising new dynamic. Disney now finds itself competing against the Daily Wire, an unexpected challenger offering a rival adaptation that promises to stay true to the classic tale, led by Brett Cooper as the new Snow White. The trouble began with the announcement of Rachel Zegler as Snow White in Disney's live-action remake. Disney's choice of a Latina actress for the role was met with mixed reactions. While some hailed the decision as a step toward greater diversity, others felt it ignored the German roots of the original story, rooted in European folklore. For many fans, the appeal of Snow White lies in its fairy tale authenticity, and altering the character's cultural background seemed unnecessary and jarring. This debate raised broader questions about how much creative liberty filmmakers should take when adapting classic tales. However, it wasn't just the casting that stirred the pot. Zegler's comments about the original film further inflamed tensions. In interviews, she dismissed the 1937 classic as creepy and stalkerish, particularly criticizing the iconic True Love's Kiss storyline. Instead, she promised a modernized Snow White who would focus on leadership and self-discovery rather than romantic aspirations. While this feminist reinterpretation resonated with some, it alienated many fans who treasured the original's themes of love, innocence, and heroism. "This isn't Snow White anymore," one fan declared on social media. "It's just another movie using the name." Adding to the controversy, Disney announced that the live-action film would replace the iconic Seven Dwarfs with magical creatures. For many, this decision crossed a line. The Seven Dwarfs are not merely supporting characters, they are central to the story's charm and emotional resonance. Critics argued that their removal was a clear example of Disney pandering to modern sensitivities, particularly following actor Peter Dinklage's outspoken criticism of what he perceived as outdated portrayals of dwarfism. The backlash was swift and intense. Fans demanded the return of the dwarves, and Disney ultimately relented, announcing they would reinstate them. However, the resulting CGI versions of the characters were met with fresh criticism for their artificial appearance. Fans also pointed out the missed opportunity to cast actors with dwarfism who could have brought authenticity and representation to the roles.
Now, a few weeks ago, pictures from the new Snow White live-action remake went viral, and people had a field day with it, rightfully so, because it looks absolutely atrocious and ridiculous. First of all, there was only one dwarf. One actual dwarf, the token dwarf, and the rest of them literally look like crackheads that are stumbling out of a San Francisco Whole Foods.
What began as an attempt to modernize the story ended up alienating both traditionalists and advocates for representation. Among the critics was David Hanan, a former Disney designer and the son of one of the original directors of Snow White. Han condemned the live-action remake as insulting to his father's legacy and Disney's original vision. They've lost touch with what made the original so special.
The Daily Wire's making a live-action Snow White movie starring conservative YouTuber Brett Cooper. I was not expecting this announcement. At least Brett Cooper looks like Snow White in this promo, whereas you can't really say the same thing about Rachel Zegler. You know, it'd be one thing if Snow White turned around and put a MAGA hat on or some bullshit. That's not, people don't want propaganda on the other side. They just want propaganda-free entertainment.
And that really is the main point. We're just trying to represent the values that Snow White is based in, the timeless values that we all loved growing up, that are sadly being forgotten in this new adaptation.
I hope the fans are gonna like the work that we've done.
Yeah, I think they will. We have something very special.
You two clearly get along and respect and love
I
each
have
other.
no idea what you're talking about.
Hater!
Talking about.
They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White,
yeah.
Seven Dwarfs. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of Seven Dwarfs living in a cave. What the fuck are you doing, man?
He remarked, accusing the studio of sacrificing timeless storytelling for modern political messaging. Han's critique underscored a broader sentiment. Many fans felt Disney was prioritizing trends over authenticity, diluting the magic that made the original film an enduring masterpiece. As Disney stumbled, The Daily Wire, a company better known for political commentary than filmmaking, announced its own adaptation of Snow White. Promising to remain faithful to the original tale while offering a fresh yet respectful take, The Daily Wire positioned itself as the antidote to Disney's perceived overreach. Brett Cooper, cast as Snow White, has been vocal about her commitment to preserving the themes of love, bravery, and innocence that define the original.
First cartoon came out 85 years ago, and so to be able to 85 years later be the first Disney live action version of that is so incredible. I grew up on Disney films on the VHS tape. I was terrified of the original cartoon when I was a kid. Just like getting to work through the terrifying trauma that I had from watching the original cartoon.
She loves me, I can tell.
First time as the evil queen, what was that like, and what do you feel like sets this version of Snow White apart from what we've seen before?
Well, first of all, the first version of Snow White was like 80-something years ago, so it's kind of dated. And the version that we have, Snow White is much more proactive. She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Cooper's casting was met with enthusiasm, with many fans praising her humility and passion for the role. The first teaser trailer for The Daily Wire's adaptation was greeted with overwhelmingly positive reactions. Fans described it as a refreshing homage to the classic, contrasting sharply with the divisive reception to Disney's trailer. If it's Brett Cooper versus Rachel Zegler, Brett wins hands down, one fan commented. This groundswell of support for The Daily Wire's version reflects a broader cultural pushback against what many perceive as Hollywood's tendency to prioritize political messaging over storytelling.
The biggest aspect of disbelief you have to suspend is the idea that Gal Gadot, as the wicked witch here, as the evil stepmother, is somehow less good looking than Rachel Zegler.
The contrasting reactions to the two adaptations have created an unprecedented showdown in Hollywood. Disney's modernized take, led by Zegler, is seen by some as an attempt to update the story for contemporary audiences. Yet, this approach has alienated a significant portion of the original fan base. Critics argue that Disney's heavy-handed changes, from the casting to the removal of the dwarves, undermine the essence of the tale. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper's faithful retelling has struck a chord with fans who feel nostalgic for the magic of the original. By balancing respect for the classic with a fresh perspective, Cooper's Snow White has become a symbol of what many fans want from modern adaptations: innovation that enhances the story rather than eclipsing it. The controversy extends beyond the films themselves. Zegler has faced intense backlash for her comments about the original movie, with some fans accusing her of disrespecting the role and the legacy of Snow White. Rumors have swirled about her alleged frustration over The Daily Wire's adaptation, with reports suggesting she's furious about Brett Cooper's success. To complicate matters, Zegler's social media activity has sparked additional controversy. A tweet referencing the Israel-Hamas conflict, perceived as a jab at her co-star Gal Gadot, has created tension within the Disney production. This has further divided fans, with some calling for a boycott of the film. In contrast, Brett Cooper's adaptation has avoided similar controversies, allowing it to maintain a positive reception. The battle between Disney and The Daily Wire reflects a larger cultural conversation about the direction of Hollywood. Fans have grown increasingly vocal about their desire for adaptations that honor the spirit of the originals. They are tired of what they see as unnecessary modernizations that prioritize politics over storytelling. The overwhelmingly positive response to Brett Cooper's version of Snow White sends a clear message. Audiences want innovation that respects the source material. As both adaptations approach their release dates, the question remains: which version will win the hearts of audiences? Disney's Snow White has the advantage of a storied legacy and the resources of a major studio. Yet, the controversy surrounding Zegler's comments and the film's creative decisions may hinder its success. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper's faithful retelling of Snow White has emerged as a dark horse, capturing the enthusiasm of fans who feel disillusioned by Disney's approach. Ultimately, The outcome will depend on the films themselves. Will Disney's modernized feminist reimagining find a new fan base? Or will the Daily Wire's faithful retelling of the original fairy tale, led by Brett Cooper, steal the spotlight? One thing is clear. This showdown is about more than just two versions of Snow White. It's a battle for the soul of storytelling itself.